So this is a revision and reminder session about the intake and planning process. It's designed as a review of the work that we've covered a few weeks ago. So just watch the steps that we've discussed and see if there's any that you missed when you did your role play and that you might need to focus on in the future weeks. Okay, so there's actually quite a lot of things on the screen at the moment. That's just a reminder of what the form we're using in class when you're an observer. All these different things, I'll explain those. I've actually just coloured them in a bit different so you can see. Some are about confidentiality, some are about the actual case planning tool. Okay, so what I'm looking for is that right at the start of your role play, you do a bit of small talk. You don't just dive straight into confidentiality and all that sort of stuff. So you'd say things like,
"What's the weather like outside? Did you have a good trip here?
Or you might say things like,
Have you been here before? How did you find out about us?"
okay, so having just had that bit of a connection with the client, we'd then go into just explaining what your job role is all about and setting those boundaries.
"Hi, my name is Amy. I'm here to be your intake worker today to develop a plan. Today we are going to develop a plan of action to support your needs. But before we begin..."
Okay, and then you would explain all those things about confidentiality that we already know from other lessons, about the child at risk of abuse, serious and imminent risk of suicide or violence, the serious criminal activity, and the court orders. Now, if you miss that in your role play, you're not the first student to have done that. The whole point of this slideshow is as a reminder of the things you need to take a note of for next time you do your role play. So this isn't giving you a hard time, this is just reminding you of what people in the industry are looking for from this sort of discussion. So the next thing is you're just going to invite the client to talk about what's going on for them.
What is it you would like to talk about?
And then you go on to the intake form. So in the intake form, you can just use that as a bit of an excuse to establish rapport. But keep in mind, there's a couple of key questions there that help you suss out what's going on. So it sounds like a just casual conversation, but instead of saying, "What's your address?" you would actually ask,
"So, do you have a current address?"
And then tied to that, you could just follow on with,
"Is it safe? Long term?" "So, pretty stable then. No hassles with accommodation."
so you basically just had a chance to assess their housing situation. They would come forward if there was issues there. But if not, then you've just filled in another space on the square and the form and nobody seems to mind. Same with the question about the income. You could actually ask,
"So, what do you do for money? Is that something you like, or are you all sorted with that stuff?"
so again, each time with the homelessness issue or with the money issue, this is a chance for you to ask respectfully from the client whether they want to add that to the plan. Okay, so then we move on to the next space in the case planning. We've actually got the case plan in front of us, and you'd remember that at the very top we've got the overall goal. And you might remember me saying, rather than just saying, "So, what's your overall goal?" you'd actually use a good solution-focused question such as,
"Ultimately, when we have been successful, how will you know? What is your ultimate goal?"
and that just gets them focused on, one day we're going to be successful. What's the big picture here? What's the overall vision that we're going for? So again, if you didn't do that, that's okay. Here's your chance to remind yourself that you need to sharpen up on that little space. And then you're moving on to the next part of the case planning tool. And remember to capture all the issues before you start problem solving. So it's probably going to be more than one page worth. Keep them spread out so you've got space for later on. But you'd actually, before moving on from the issues, you ask the question,
"If we have all of these issues sorted, will that be enough for you to reach your ultimate goal?"
so switch off that part of your head that wants to problem solve immediately as soon as you hear an issue. You want to capture all the issues, check you've got them all, because after you've asked that question, sometimes clients will come up with some extra things that they need to reach the goal. It's what I call a bridging question to move from the issues phase onto the goal phase. And then we start problem solving. So then you can one by one address each of those issues, put down all of the different things. Remember to be client focused. The stuff that they come up with isn't necessarily what you would come up with. And check that you've written down step by step all of the tasks, and ask them, before you move on to the next task, ask them the question,
If we do all of these tasks, will that be enough for you to resolve this issue?
because quite often people just write a word or two, like they write Vinnies, rather than make the referral, which will be the worker's job, and attend the referral, which will be the client's job, and then meet again if it didn't work. So you want to write it step by step. These are people living in crisis. They need clear statements like that. And if I'm your co-worker, I need to be able to read it and know what's going on and what's my job. So that's, in a nutshell, all that stuff that was there on your cover sheet. The observers would be looking for all of those things. If there's some you missed, this is your chance to pick up on it and to say, yeah, cool, I need to do that. There is one last page on the client file. I'm happy for you to fill that in after the role plays, just to save us some time. It does need to be completed with some relevant referrals in it before you upload that as your assessment task. In the real world, you would do that with the client in front of you. You'd actually find the right services, and you'd even ring them up, but we don't have time for that. So that's it. All of those things, that's what we're looking for in the role plays.